Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Roshan. I'm hoping that Helena and her panel before us will settle down and stay with us, all right? Because I think sessions 2 and 3 are actually closely related. And I'll tell you the reason why. So my name is Annie Koh. Roshan says cool, so I've got to change the last name for you. So, and I'm delighted that we are still here. So what I'm going to do is, being a professor, I would love this to be an interactive session. So I'm not going to allow the 3 mics to be wasted. So I do want questions from the floor. And I'll go about it in the following way. So we have an amazing topic, and it's titled Nurturing Women Entrepreneurs. I believe many of you in the audience are women entrepreneurs. And so this session is meant for you because you will be the voices that we want to hear from. But women entrepreneurs today are actually women founders of many startups as well. So the conversation on this panel is to build ecosystem. Is to build a vibrant ecosystem where the entrepreneurs could definitely be working very closely with all the startups. So I'm very privileged. I have 2 wonderful panelists on site, but I have 3 amazing women who are coming in virtually. And I must tell you, women really stayed up for their panels. Thank you very much, Loredana. Yeah, so 3 women, one of them all the way in the United States. It's 3:25 a.m. in the morning. Can we warmly welcome, all right, Meral? And you know, Meryl's from the US of A, and I really am most appreciative. I love it that I could see her there. And of course, we have Kimi from Vietnam. And she's a startup entrepreneur, so I'm glad she's here. You know, when Tan Sri says come and do the final panel, because this is about global women in business and, you know, in entrepreneurship, he meant it. Because I have Ingrid all the way from European time zone in Norway. Can we warmly welcome this sterling panel? Thank you. Now, what I'm going to do is, I promise everyone on my panel that we'll stop sharp at 4:45 because this ballroom will be turned around into an enchanted dinner place. And therefore, we need to give enough time for everyone to turn around, including all my ladies, to go and dress up and look amazing. All right? And I know you're already amazing looking right now. So what I'm going to do is a speed fire round. I would love each of the ladies to do a self-introduction. And they've got fantastic bio. All of them won awards. But I would love them to focus on a self-introduction in line with the topic. So what is it about their background that led them to become so passionate about entrepreneurship? And of course, I have to start with the US of A. Meral, can we have you come online? Yes. Her title is Partnership Manager at Women's Entrepreneurship Accelerator at the UN. But I'm sure, sitting in New York right now, she got to where she is because of a background that is sterling. Can we hear from you, Meral, and welcome.
Hello, thank you very much, distinguished panelists and dear participants, and ladies and gentlemen. And I really hope that we have some gentlemen who are present today and listening to us. So it's still wonderful to join you today, even if it is virtually, and I wish I was there, of course, and join this panel. And as introduced, my name is Meral Guzel, originally from Istanbul, Turkey, but now I'm located in New York City and work at the headquarters of UN Women. And I'm leading the United Nations Women's Entrepreneurship Accelerator initiative established by Mary Kay and 6 UN agencies. So namely International Labour Organization, International Trade Center, International Telecommunication Union, and UNDP, UN Development Program, United Nations Global Compact, and UN Women. So in acronym is WEA in short. We are not a business accelerator, as the name may give you the impression. We are an initiative to accelerate women entrepreneurship efforts in the ecosystem by joining the forces and by bringing all the actors together. So this is a partnership and collaboration initiative. And so what we do is to support the women entrepreneurship agendas of the countries and organizations, including companies, also investors, and of course associations, and of course women entrepreneurs.
I think,
So
is it the line?
Meral,
Meral?
or strengthen. So for them, so that will, yes, can you hear me?
I think we are struggling with a little bit of breakup. Can you check your line strength, the number of buttons in terms of the network? You are able to hear me, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so maybe Malaysia Airwaves is stronger. All right. Okay, but thank you very much. I will get you to share a little bit about the accelerator in a while. Yeah, so maybe you check the strength of our network at the moment. Kamala, maybe you could help check from the back end. Can I move on, all right, to Kimi? Kimi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. So
Can you hear me?
Yeah, good. So Kimi currently wears the hat of founder of YellowBlocks and Create 42, and she's based in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Kimi, go ahead. Self-introduction.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. It's an honor to be a panelist in this like superwoman panel and to be able to share with everyone. So a quick introduction about myself. My name is Kimi, and I have been, I'm a Vietnamese, but I have been living abroad like more than half of my life. So I was away from the country since 16 years old to Finland. And at that time, I was one of the very rare women to pursue like the computer science and telecommunications sponsored by Nokia at that time. And after graduation in Finland, I worked at the labs for a while until coming back to Vietnam like 12 years ago. And when I pursued the MBA, actually like for the last 10 years, I have been working as business development and also marketing and communications for technology companies to go global. So I am based in Vietnam, but actually have been to the US and European market, and recently between Dubai and building the links between Dubai and Asia Pacific, as well as Australia and Singapore. So I am also like the founder of YellowBlocks and Women Impact Vietnam. So YellowBlocks is the first consulting firm in Vietnam focusing in frontier technology. My passion on like the moment I touched the first computer when I was 6 years old, I know that like, you know, my life is going to be surrounding between like technology and tools that can help to scale the impact and also like to create more positive social impact for the society. So currently I'm working focus on what we call ABCDE. So AI, blockchain, cloud data, and electric vehicles. Those are my 5 majors, but also like more focusing on blockchain, metaverse, and Web3 in the current. So I'm the one to actually like build the interlinks between different governments and Vietnam government, and on the advisory board for the Ministry of Science and Technology and Ministry of Trade and Investment in Vietnam for investment, technology investment.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kimi. Welcome. Yes, the audience is very spontaneous. Actually, in 2020, she was among Analytics Insight, the 10 most influential women in tech. So yeah, thank you. I'm going to hold on Ingrid because I got to pay attention to women on my panel. Going to Kavitha, and you heard her earlier as a moderator, but now I'm making her wear the hat of being an entrepreneur. She's the Chief Strategy Officer of Intellize Tech Services, Malaysia. Homegrown woman entrepreneur. Kavitha, tell them about you.
Thank you. Right. Hi again. Hi, everyone. I think just a quick introduction about myself. Although I would like to say, please Google my name, yeah? No, I was just joking. Hi, I'm Kavitha, born Malaysia, Malaysian Indian, and I actually, well, it's a very long journey. I didn't study what I am today here. I'm actually SPM, if you all know, just SPM. After that, I went to a secretarial studies I was a secretary. I was taught how to make coffee for bosses, right? I'm still doing that now for my partner. And then it goes. You have to get married early, and I got an opportunity to do my diploma. Then I did my master's, then my PhD. But I would like to share with you the other side of myself, where the professional life started. I'm not a technical person, IT, so I thought I'm in the wrong industry. But here I am today, have won multiple award and recognition in the field of cybersecurity. And let me just share with you. I was the first Malaysian woman to achieve the Master of Business Continuity. That's my second master's, Master of Business Continuity in Malaysia, awarded by Disaster Recovery Institute of US. And I was also the, I think, I just can't remember the name of the award, Cybersecurity Excellence Women in Malaysia.
In the year 2019, she received the International Excellence Award as Best Cybersecurity Personality.
And that's from Abdul Kalam Foundation from India. And I think there was another one, Cyber Safe Ambassador of Malaysia, awarded by Cybersecurity Malaysia under the Ministry of Multimedia and Communication. And I also won the top 10 women in cybersecurity in Malaysia, awarded by one of the Canadian organizations. And I also recently won Cyber Risk Leader, awarded by Diligent USA for all the project that I have done, a turnkey project in Malaysia involving government. My role is very much on cybersecurity, business continuity, and disaster recovery. And also, finally, the recent award is Business Continuity and Disaster Recovery Innovation Company of the Year, also by the ministry. So yeah, that's a little bit about myself. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kavitha. That's what happened when you win too many awards, right? You can't remember them all. But great to have her here. And I actually love the story that you pivoted your role. So we'll come back to that later and talk about your company. I'd love to go on now to Ingrid. Ingrid, can you hear me loud and clear? All the way from Norway. Yeah. And her title now is Managing Partner of Hadean Ventures from Norway. Thank you very much. Good.
Thank you very much. I'll say it's a great pleasure and honor to be here on this very distinguished panel and helping to provide the global perspective in this conversation. So my name is Ingrid Teigland Akay. I'm founder and managing partner in a venture capital firm. We invest mostly in Europe, but also a little outside of Europe. And we invest across the life science space. That means in startup companies that develop products within pharma, biotech, medtech, diagnostics, and digital health. We have in our firm, we're managing close to 200 million euros in 2 different funds. And we have a team of about 14 people. I've also pivoted in a slightly different direction. I used to be a medical doctor. I used to work in hospitals. I was focused on internal medicine and gastrointestinal surgery back in the days. Before I took an MBA with focus on finance at London Business School. And moved over to the investment side. And I've been on the investment side for the last 13 years.
Thank you very much. And guess what? She's a medical doctor first before she becomes a I know, and I see Dr. Lee all come waving because she's also a medical doctor who will be on my panel tomorrow morning, right? So medical doctors can become anything they want. Okay, so I'm going to go now to my last, but not the final, because we'll do a second round. But all of you better say thank you, all right, to Professor Loredana Padurean, because she gave you a free book. Did you get a copy of the book? You did. So, but instead of asking her to talk about the book for now, I'd like her to tell us the journey. Why is she in, Malaysia? And I'm sure behind that is a great story.
Why would I not be in Malaysia? Isn't Malaysia the best country to live in? Yeah. People ask me all the time where I'm from. I am from Bukit Tungku. I used to live in Bukit Bintang. I got an upgrade. But I am actually from Romania, and my ambassador is here. And there's another speaker today from Romania. So I have to say, the Romanian girls rock all the way to Malaysia. So Your Excellency, I was so proud of your speech today, and I'm so proud to be here with you today. I want to ask, so before I became a professor, my students call me the unconventional professor. I have a bunch of students in the room, but I had 19 different professions. So anybody here work in constructions? There's a couple of lady there. I used to work in constructions. Anybody work in transportations or freight? I used to work in shipping. I used to work in insurance. Anybody in insurance here? I used to work in media. I used to work in sales. I used to work in hospitality. I used to work pretty much everywhere except for banking.
Okay, which one did you not work in yet?
I cannot legally say. And then I became a professor purely by accident because I was living in Switzerland and I took over the management of a bankrupted ski resort. And believe it or not, I don't like winter, I don't like to ski, I don't like snow, but I like problems. And I thought, how can something go bankrupted in Switzerland out of all places? And I know one of our sponsors has a beautiful clinic in Geneva. Dr. Mike is here. And I did that for a while. And while I was doing that, I was invited to apply for a couple of scholarships. I ended up becoming a professor. I've been teaching pretty much all over the world. I taught in India, in Switzerland, in Italy, in US. And then in 2014, I was teaching for MIT Sloan in India. And I'm going to say a joke now only for the locals in the room. But as a true Matsale, my other Matsale looked at me and said, oh, you're Asian enough, you spend time in India. Why don't you go to Malaysia as well? Because, you know, it's easy to call from Boston all the other countries across the world as being from the same part of the world. So in 2014, Dr. Zeri was the governor of the Central Bank of Malaysia. And she had this amazing vision to start a brand new business school in Malaysia, but a business school that can compete with all the other business schools. And I'm so happy to see that there's so many MBAs in this room because I'm a professor of MBAs. And I'm happy that we have a doctor who went for an MBA and a super doctor who went for business education. So there's some value in that. So in 2015, I moved here and we started the business school. Within 2 or 3 years, we became the most innovative business school in the world, which is great for Malaysia, right? Yeah, why not? Malaysia boleh. I know. You didn't know about that? Shame on you. Well, no, shame on me, and maybe the marketing department. Dr. Hadija is one of the professors. She's with me. Dr. Sidi is one of our directors. She's here with me. I have a bunch of my colleagues here. And our goal was to become the most innovative program in the world. We have students from 47 countries. We have faculty from 25 countries. We have probably one of the most beautiful campuses, which is hard to say next to SMU, but still. I would say that no matter what you do in life, you can still be an entrepreneur. So you can be a doctor and be an entrepreneur. You can be a professor like you and be an entrepreneur. You can be a cybersecurity expert and be an entrepreneur. I don't think entrepreneur is necessarily correlated with, you know, starting your own business. I think you be very, very entrepreneurial by doing something that you feel that it's your own. You put energy and passion and you want to, you know, drive it through.
Very nice. Thank you. Can we put our hands together? Thank my virtual as well as my physical panel. So I'm going to go back to Meral. Meral. So I really must give respect to Meral because she's up, like I said, all right, in US time zone. So Meral, I know you're very passionate about the Women's Entrepreneurship Accelerator, and that started under the UN Women's Initiative. Maybe you could share with our audience, both physical and virtual, why is entrepreneurship championed by women critical to build the greater good for the world? So this is something that UN believes in, and therefore you are driving it as a partner.
Certainly, certainly. Of course, there is a big inequality in the world, like in all areas of the world, between women entrepreneurs and male entrepreneurs. But the way international organizations approach is the development point of view, right? When we support women entrepreneurship, it's not only that we are supporting an entrepreneur who happens to be a woman, but we are supporting the whole community and we are supporting the whole society. because it is, there are several studies, countless studies that show that when an entrepreneur has an income, there's an improvement, incredible improvements, and in the welfare of the family, the education level of the family, and especially the number of the girls going to school, and children and girls going to school, improvement at the health system, at the conditions of living. And women entrepreneurs are more successful than male entrepreneurs when you look at their success rates, and it's also globally. And they pay back, again, more successful than male entrepreneurs. So there is a whole development effect on that.
Very good. And how do you measure success? That means, you know, when you put all these women through the program, how do you measure success that you've actually achieved what you've set out to achieve?
Oh, we don't have one activity. We have several activities managed by different agencies. And of course, all our programs come with different indicators, different KPIs. And they are measured separately. So I cannot give you really a one answer to be an answer for everything we are doing.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Meral. So I'm going to switch gear, and I want to hear from the voices of entrepreneurs. So I'm going to Kimmy first. Kimmy, can we have you back from Vietnam? Very good. Kimmy, can you tell us a little bit about YellowBlocks? And I know you have both YellowBlocks and Create 42. So, you know, you mentioned that you actually love tech and you see tech as empowering women and also inclusion. So can you tell us what exactly those two companies do? And, you know, how old are the companies?
Yeah, thank you for your question. So actually, like YellowBlocks is already, let me see, like 5 years old right now. So I founded YellowBlocks in 2018 after a few years like working intensively, connecting between and be the bridge between investment and technology and business, in other countries to Vietnam. And at that time, in 2018, Vietnam was only like an emerging country, like with like potentials, and all the people are so curious and, you know, like, oh, we want to go to Vietnam to find out what Vietnam is about. Fast forward to today, Vietnam has proven to be like the top emerging markets in like investment. So most, I think like it's the most, one of the most actively invested in Southeast Asia. And as a matter of fact, in like the Google's report in 2020, for the internet economy, actually Vietnam is only like ranking after Indonesia. So you can imagine that we are so close to Singapore, and most of the headquarters of the investors and VC and family offices, they all flying to Vietnam. And then COVID happened. But when I founded like YellowBlocks, it was based on like the frustration that like when I was being the bridge and also like to connect between different stakeholders, I just found out that like the investors coming to Vietnam, usually they have some interest, but they also have a lot of misconceptions before coming to the country, because like the way that our country, like, you know, represent in the global is on like most of the people, especially from the European or US market, they always ask me, oh, you guys just been out of the war for 10 or 15 years. What is the country like? And they all like amazed when they come to Ho Chi Minh City, because like it's kind of like really developed and with all the high rises and so on. So I think that in a way, like as a country, we were still like, of course, most of the GDP and export come from agriculture product or tourism. But like there's also like an emerging forces of like the next young generations. And we have a wave of like people like me who study abroad or live abroad or work abroad for more than 10 years and then come back to the country and, you know, refresh the page and the face of the country. So that's why I found YellowBlocks, because at that time in Vietnam, they were like the big four consulting firm, and they, you know, they become like the monopoly of like consulting the digital transformation of biggest corporate or enterprise in Vietnam. And I say, okay, for YellowBlocks, this is the first consulting firm that focuses in solving digital transformation, but like in applications. And what we are bringing is we are the connector or super connectors between different stakeholders, and actually to empower like the whole innovation ecosystem. So we work across like government agencies, but like the agencies that focus on growth and innovation, like very aggressive KPI. And then we work with accelerators, the investors, and of course, like the startup communities. We bring out like more activities and initiatives, and we make like initiatives happen. So we build platforms for this type of open innovation. So for example, we have like blockchain for good, or like ecosystem meetup, where we bring like the top global key players or top global investors to Vietnam, and facilitate all of those matchmaking or business matchmaking. But like it happens like at a much quicker pace. And fast forward, just after 1 year, we have around like 140 strategic partners in 40 countries. And we signed the MOU with 4 governments, including Vietnam, Singapore, Australia, and Austria government at that time. So that is all about YellowBlocks, and about like connecting and, like unleashing the, what I do is not like new things, but it's more about like connecting existing resources. And I always believe in the thing like connect the dots. And I always like wonder why I specialize in technology in my education, but like my career was always about marketing or business development. And later on, when I found YellowBlocks, it's all like connect the dots. And I've been through so many different industries, including oil and gas, HR, talent empowerment, and that kind of stuff. So when we come to like technology applications for various like domains and expertise, we can really have like the expertise to consult or give people on that one. So that's about YellowBlocks. And Create 42 is just like this year, because YellowBlocks is more about empowering like Vietnam economy and being the bridge to Vietnam. But for Create 42 is more on the global mission, and it's more focused on blockchain and Web3 enabler for enterprises and big corporates who want to enter, blockchain and Web3, not for the sake of getting more investment or whatever, but for the sake of the technology, what they can really bring, and so on. So for the Create 42, it's actually a Dubai entity that we are working with like clients across the world for that consulting.
Thank you very much. I think she's very global, yeah? So with 120 organizations in over 40 countries. Thank you. How do you beat that, Kavitha? Just pulling your leg. Okay. Tell us about Intellize and what does it do?
Right. Well, this company was established in year 2019. We specialize on governance, risk management, and compliance. That's where the business continuity, disaster recovery, and cybersecurity comes in. Yeah. So we provide consulting services for government projects, not only government, public and private sectors as well. So that's a little bit about my company. And if you ask me, why am I here in this company? How did I set up and all that? Well, it's a long story. So I think we spoke about the push factor. So I did face at that one point of a time, there was a push factor that I end up setting up this company with my partner, and my partner is a man.
Nothing else to add on to that. Yeah. Okay. How about the key success factors? So 2019 until now, what had been able to contribute to the success of Intellize and you as an entrepreneur?
Well, I think if you talk about success, it's very subjective for the individual. How do you actually look at success? Success is something that you do something that gives you satisfaction, something that makes you happy, something that makes you fulfilling, and that you can actually call it success. But for some people, success is about how much dollar you have at the end of the day in your bank account, right? So what are the position, what's your status like, how lavishly you can live a life, and that's also can say success. But for me, setting up this organization and having a beautiful team to work towards achieving the goal and the objective of the organization is a great success. That's one of the critical success factor. And the way that we work with our clients, we establish a very close relationship. There are a few of my clients are here as my guest as well in this conference, and I'm very happy to work closely. And that establishment of the relationship with customer didn't happen in these 3 years. These are the client that I built since my career as a consultant for the past 17 years. So that's one of the critical success factor.
Very good. So, you know, it's accumulation of all those experiences in the last 17 years, and it culminated in the startup. I'm going to turn to Ingrid now. Ingrid, I'm going to read a statistics to you, and you help me clarify whether this is true in Hadean. Of the dollars invested, 5% went to entirely women-funded startups in the year 2021. But that's down from 8% in 2020. So many women-founded startups are actually struggling to get money and funding. And, you know, through COVID, the numbers are getting lower. Are you seeing this trend? And do you kind of fund, through Hadean Ventures, women startups more you know, leniently, or again with very stringent criteria, but yet have found a formula in which you have been able to successfully invest in women's startups?
Yeah, so first of all, I have to, you know, confirm what you're saying, that in general, those statistics, you know, unfortunately are correct. That's something that we're working on changing at my firm. And just to sort of take a step back and explain a little bit where I'm coming from. First of all, I would say that I only realized late in my career that there is a gender bias problem. So I've always worked in male-dominated jobs, in surgery, in finance, and venture capital, and always with mostly male colleagues. And I didn't really notice that in many cases, women were treated differently. When this became clear to me, I came to a couple of conclusions. So first of all, that based on my own experience, and this has also been supported by recently published research, is that I firmly believe that gender balanced teams perform better. So it's very important to try to work towards that. And the other conclusion I came to was that, you know, from my perspective, I want to do what I can to try to improve the gender imbalance in the sector that we are working in, just because it means, to my previous point, that my team will be able to perform better if we're more diverse, and also the teams that we are betting as investors will be able to perform better. So what do we do with that? So what concretely do we do? First of all, so we've been able to build a pretty gender balanced team at our firm. And that's quite unusual in venture capital. So we're very, very happy about that, very proud of our team. It is a very male industry historically, and that has implications to the flow of capital, as you just spoke about, because male investors tend to invest in male founders. So it's very important that the number of female investors grow. So that's something we work on. So we've been able to do that. I'm very pleased to say. And the other thing is that we want to introduce more women to the investment industry. So we run an internship program where we have young females who are interested in industry to come and work with us for a period of time, and thereby get exposure to this sector. Another thing we work on when we do our deal sourcing, we have a particular attention towards female investors. We invest in both male founders and female founders, and we invest in the best opportunities we can find. But we have a particular attention to female founders. And the reason for that is that we have noticed that female founders and entrepreneurs are less aggressive when it comes to contacting, reaching out towards investors. So as male founders are very, proactive, they come and knock at our doors all the time, whereas female founders are much more cautious. They always want to prepare and have everything perfect before they contact investors. And thereby they lose this early interaction and dynamics that's really helpful. So when you go out the door deal sourcing, we are proactive and encourage them to contact us and show us what they're working on so that we can get this early relationship started early. And furthermore, when we have invested in a company, when we work with our portfolio companies, we usually join the boards. Well, we always join the boards of our investee companies. And from a board perspective, we work with the leadership And we encourage them to have an attention to gender balance when they do the recruitment, so that over time we help to build a more gender balanced team also in our portfolio companies.
Very nice. And I think, you know, when Tan Sri opened this morning and talked about the 4 Fs, he talked very much about the importance of financing. But I think many of our ventures go beyond just financing. And I think for women, the coaching, the mentoring, asking them to show up, that's a very critical piece. And I can't think of a better person, all right, to kind of round up this second round than you, all right? Because, you know, Loredana wrote a book, but not one book, but 2 books. And I know you already put up your book right there. So maybe you could share a little bit of what motivated you to write the book. And I think you actually wrote it with women entrepreneurs in mind.
Well, I wrote the book because I don't like people. There's very few of you in this room that I like, honestly. It helps that I don't know you, so I like you a little bit better. I didn't write it with women in mind. I wrote it with people in mind. And I want to ask how many of you find working with people to be the most demanding aspect of your job? Oh, look at that. 1, 2, 3. Really? Oh, really? The rest of you are delusional. The rest of you are also the reason why it's so hard to work with others. I have a lot of students who have this false vision that they're going to become entrepreneurs so they don't have a boss. So they don't have anybody to tell them what to do. And I'm like, oh, child. You're going to become an entrepreneur. Your biggest job is not going to be to make money. Your biggest job is going to get to have people do what you want them to do. It's not about, entrepreneurship is not about having freedom. At some point it is when you become like Mike, a billionaire. Dr. Mike, where are you, Dr. Mike? He's making money outside. But until then, and maybe not even then you're free. So there's this false illusion that entrepreneurship gives you freedom. No, entrepreneurship gives you some level of, if you want, thinking independence, some level of autonomy, but it doesn't give you this freedom that you go around and do whatever you want, that you tell people, right, ma'am, I see you nodding here. You seem like you know what I'm talking about. So when I wrote this book because I realized when I used to be only a management professor, my life was very easy. I would come to class, teach about management, go home, be happy. And then, God damn it, I got promoted. And when I got promoted, I had to manage people like you. Well, not like you, maybe less good at that than you are. And then I realized my life is becoming very complicated because the theory of management, it's a little bit different than a practice of management. Because in the practice of management, we don't talk about egos. We don't talk about people who have, you know, personality issues. We don't talk about people who are jealous. We don't talk about people who stab you in the back, right? Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. And I was like, so the practice of management is slightly more difficult than the theory of management. I didn't want to write this book, but I go around telling people that the job is easier, the people are not, so they asked me to write a book. And I don't like writing, I don't like reading. I don't know why I became a professor, maybe because I love talking. So what I did, I went around and I asked other people to help me write the book. So I have a co-author in the room, Dr. Khadija. Could you please stand up? She is an amazing Malaysian academic. She was also the inspiration behind this book. So when you come to ask me for an autograph, please go to her and ask for an autograph. And what I learned is that there are some people who are slightly better at working with people, but the reality is that when I say the job is easy, the people are not, there's something I need to change in that title. The job is easy, I am not. Because Annie, as extraordinary you are, I'm sure you make somebody's life difficult. Jackie, as extraordinary as you are, you make somebody's life difficult because maybe your standards of excellence are extraordinary. Maybe because the fact that you know more than anybody else on this podium, right? So the reality is that when it comes to people, we are all impossible to deal with. Just ask maybe don't ask your spouse, because I'm not married and I should not give anybody advice on being married. So when I wrote this book with the idea that every single one of us, the same way I said that everybody can be an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter if you start a company or you work for a company, we all work with people. And I'm also a professor of digital transformation, which I shouldn't say in front of Dr. Kavitha, because she's the expert here. And when I hear people being so panicked that the robots are coming, you know, they're going to take our jobs, like, oh, I love to work with robots. Have you seen a robot that had a bad day? If they had a bad day, you plug it out, you plug it in again. That's what an IT director tells you. If the system doesn't work, turn it off and turn it on again. I don't know why they have a degree from MIT for that. No matter where the world is going, no matter if you have wars, if we have, economic crashes, if we have economic success, the business of business is not business. The business of business is people. So let's get our shit together, because otherwise, I don't know where we're gonna go. Just saying.
Very nice, thank you. And now you know why you need 2 autographs. All right, and I hold, before asking you about your next book, we have a question here from Regina Rahim. Thank you very much, Regina. And any one of you could jump in, including my virtual audience or panel that came before me, all right? What are the key factors that investors look for to fund female startups at the preceding stage? Kavitha, we start with you first, yeah?
Right. Thank you. Can you repeat the question again?
Sure, you can take a look at it. All right, so what are the, key factors that
What are the key
investors...
factors that investors look for to fund female startup at okay. Female startup, what is the factor that you look for? I would say it's about, I think I'm going to go back to promoting themselves. If they have the interest, you see, there are many people coming up as a startup, but they never sustain. So that's the problem. So where are they breaking? Where are they dropping? Where are they lacking? That's a problem now with many women, that they don't ask this themselves. So first of all, ask yourself, what do you really want to do? And you then set that objective very clearly to yourself and move towards achieving those goals and objectives. And this is where I would say, look for the women that come with desire. No desire, don't waste your time. Look for others. That's all.
Well, yes, I actually wanted to turn to Ingrid. Ingrid, this question is really meant for you as well. What are the key factors that investors look for to fund female startups at the pre-seed stage? And I think Kimi can add on, and then we come back to you, Doralyn.
Yeah, so I'm a life science investors. We're very asset focused. So we look for patented science, technology that we can develop. But I'm gonna, talk about the human aspect of it. So in the people who are starting and running this firm, which is more generally applicable, what are we looking for? We are definitely looking for dedication. That is kind of the 120% focus of that person. It's really, really hard starting and running a company. So it really has to be full dedication and conviction in the idea. Person has to have the ability to convince people. They have to be able to convince people, great people, to join the team, and will have to be able to convince customer in the future. That we have to be able to convince investors. So this is very important, that you really have the belief in your idea and are able to communicate it and convince other people. Integrity, obviously, is extremely important for us. We're trusting entrepreneurs with a lot of money, so we need to be able to trust them. Agility, the world changes, the facts changes, you have to be able to change with it. So that's really important. And just confidence, in being confident in yourself. And that sort of covers it.
Very nice, yeah? Ingrid, I really like your confidence statement. So I'm going to go to Kimi. Kimi, are you currently pre-seed or Series A funded for your YellowBlocks?
So YellowBlocks is the consulting firm. So actually, I'm not raising investment for YellowBlocks, but I have been also helping a lot with the investment matching for the startup in the ecosystem and the VCs when they come to Vietnam. So I have a little bit observation on this one. So I couldn't agree more with Ingrid. I guess venture capitals and investment across all different countries or regions. I think that we follow the same principles. And for me, it's not about the questions okay, what are you looking for in female-led startups or something like that one. because I think like the post revolution of feminism itself is actually being gender agnostic. So for me, when I look at a startup or like, you know, at a founder, it's not about like, is it a male or female, but rather like on the product or the people, right? And especially for pre-seed stage, we do not have like existing like track records for the product or the services yet. That's clearly. So it's all about like investing in that person. So it's the same question as in like, okay, what investor could be looking at like pre-seed startup? You don't need to put like a prefix like female-led or whatever there. And I agree with also Ingrid is like actually what I observe is that most of the female founders, when I meet them, actually like they are much more like determined or dedicated than their male counterparts, like especially for Asian market, because actually to be able to make that decision that I'm going to start up, some of them even like sell their house or, you know, like turn away a lot of like good opportunities or good offer to follow this path. To make that kind of decision by being an Asian, like female living in Asian countries, it's actually like much more harder, like about like the cost of opportunity. So dedication and determination, I can see that that's like the first thing. And the second one is actually like the desire to be successful, being like ambitious and being like, you know, shooting for the moon and rather than, you know, like just, okay, in the next 6 months or 2 years, or we need to see like a big vision. So that is like my two major criteria when looking at pre-seed startups.
Thank you very much. And actually, I'm sure Meral can add on, but I'm holding on to you, Meral. We'll come to Doralina first. You wanted to jump in with this.
So how many in this room do you think that we see within this room acts of gender bias within the last few hours? So I want to go back to something that Ingrid said before. So Ingrid said that one of the reasons why male founders receive funding is because they are aggressive, right? And in this room, every single one of us is trying to expect of themselves or try to hold themselves to standard of gender equality. So I heard today during a lunch conversation, a man who said that my expectation from women is to be feminine. I don't want women to be masculine. I don't want them to be aggressive. When a woman is aggressive, it turns me off. And because I'm a guest and I'm still trying to learn that I can't really say everything that I think, I didn't flip the table. But I sort of wanted to tell him, like, I don't give a much about what you want me to be. And when Ingrid says that men receive funding because they are aggressive, but most men who are in charge of funding punish women for being equally aggressive to them, then let's talk about the real investment bias here. So gentlemen in the room, I'm not going to ask you to stand up because you stand out anyway. But how about you check yourself into place and do not treat me the way you want me to be treated. Treat me the way I want to be treated. If I want to be feminine as an investor, give me the equal chance as if I want to be aggressive as an investor. The bias exists with every single one of us. It's so ironic that we talk today about gender biases and equality, and we have this fancy schmancy conference, and at lunch, we have people saying, I don't want you to behave this way. I want you to behave the way I think women should behave. Now shut up, or at least leave this conference. Because if you think that this happened to everybody else but you, no, darling, the way you called me. It happens to every single one of us. So maybe all the men and all the women in this room, what we need to do is to allow ourselves to be ourselves. And if you're feminine and kind and gentle or aggressive and a bitch, the way you're called if you're aggressive as a woman, then be that. Because at the end of the day, you have to assess my P&L. You have to assess my scalability. You have to assess my capacity to attract talent, like Ingrid said. And maybe you don't have to assess my, the way I look, the way I behave, my feminine or masculine traits. By the way, I know who you are, so.
And yes, so don't worry, the men are not required to defend themselves or stand up, yeah? Meral, you get the last word on this question. In US, in the United States, in New York City, do you see a gender bias in funding?
That's global. We have a very tragic number, and which is 2%, more or less. only 2% of the women funders are funded by private funding. And so we can have large discussion here. We can, and for me, they are all stories, as was explained by many of you. Investors can claim and justify themselves, saying we are not funding because gender bias. We are not funding because we don't think that this lady can manage home and business together, or doesn't have confidence, or didn't present aggressively, etc., etc., etc. But at the end of the day, as it has been explained, it comes to the gender bias. And this is a problem that we have to find. And we have to find maybe a business case, and there is a business case, by the way, why investors should fund in women. But I want to tell you a personal account here, because myself, I'm a failed entrepreneur. And I didn't explain it the first part, but I'm an economist by education. And then we moved, I studied in Europe, then in France, then we moved to Ecuador. And this is where I began first time seeing many women working and making their own businesses instead of working in the offices. And when we moved to the United States, I began working at the World Bank for many women entrepreneurship projects in Africa, in South Asia, and Latin America. After many years, and the kids, I have 3 boys, and the kids were small. And it's a typical thing that was explained by our MBA professor, right? She explained that many people think that by putting a business, we will have more freedom, less boss, and more time to others, and we can manage all together. And this is how we left everything with a colleague of mine from the World Bank, and we built a business. We registered a business. It was not a tech entrepreneurship or nothing like that. It was in the food industry for 3 years. And the name was registered, the brand was there, and there hasn't been any place I haven't gone that the product was not accepted. But at the end, it came to a point when we received our first order from Canada and China. And they were asking us, how many you can send us by week? And at the moment, we were producing 300 pieces per day. And I was asked to import, and I had no idea how to do it from the United States, 300 kilos weekly. Then we began looking for investors. And that was the end of the story, because there wasn't any, and there was no way to convince. Then we went back to the United States, to the World Bank. And that is my failed entrepreneurship story. And I feel in my blood this differentiation, how investors approach the women entrepreneurs. And it has nothing to do, and studies show that also, with the confidence or lack of this or lack of that, but it is purely gender bias.
Thank you very much, Meral. Okay, I'm going to use the mic. We have 3 microphones there, and I've taken a question online, so I would love to have questions from the floor. Do we have anybody? We'll love the brave gentleman, any one of them to come up first. Yeah, Loredana is just waiting to hear from any one of you. Yes, Ambassador. Great. Can you just walk to one of the microphones? Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes, it's been quite a journey for all of us. But, on this point of gender bias, in a way or in another, is anybody in this room here because she was a she? I mean, tapping into opportunities, not being aggressive necessarily, because we have in our DNA as women the healing. We may heal. We don't start wars, but we can go on and supporting the wounded. So this is a natural part. But my point is, I don't think that women who are here attending this summit are here. We are here because we've been women and we've been chosen because we've been women. So statistic, I think at this point in time, when we still have in the most optimist report of the World Economic Forum, we have 155 years to fill the gap with the man. That's an optimist report. That means 7 generations, 8 from now on, 7 generations. So I think that it's good as well to pursue this approach. So we don't want to be somewhere. We don't want to be funded because we are women. Huh? Not because of that. I mean, it might go well, but if it will not go well, the damage will not be just for us or for the small team that we are driven into life. The damage will be for many of us, because many expectations are for us, not only to deliver successfully, graciously. So, my question is, what are we doing when we are hitting a wall? What are we doing when we are hitting a wall? When we take a break and become mothers, and then coming back, but we cannot come back and take it from where we left. Maybe we need to go a little bit back. And again, and again, and again. What you did, because it's easy to make the anatomy of a success. It's so easy and inspirational. But what about failures? How failures, provide for us the energy to go on tomorrow, if today is a failure. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Actually, Ambassador also gave me the grounds for this question, and I guess I can actually ask the question of any one of you in the audience. So, when we look at our panel title, and we look at the bigger title that Tan Sri and his team put together, Creating New Opportunities, Scaling New Heights. Can anyone in the audience maybe talk about what are some of the things that you are doing, which is really allowing you to scale new opportunities, all right, reaching new heights? And how can it help, through the ecosystem that we are all operating from? And I thought it's good to start with you, Loredana, because you actually have an upcoming book that talks about skill.
I should hire you to be my agent, because I wasn't planning to talk about that. So I have been multiple times a diversity hire. So I am one of those, actually, believe it or not, Ambassador. Multiple times I was asked to be on a panel because I'm a woman. And the thing is, because I'm so upfront, in case it was not obvious, I'm a very direct person. I would ask the organizers, are you asking me because I'm a woman? Yeah. It's like, okay, that's fine. I'll go and represent, but you're going to have to put somebody else on the panel as a woman. So what do I do when I hit that wall? I bring another sister. Because I was a founder, well, at least I was the first hire of a new startup, what I did, I hired women, to the point where men became intimidated because they were a minority. And I was like, oh, boo-boo, does it hurt? Tell us more what it's like to be a minority. I would like to learn. I've never been experiencing that. So the new book that Professor keeps trying to remind me to promote, I'm just a professor of entrepreneurship. I'm not a successful entrepreneur. I'm trying to tell the story about building a startup, about nailing it first and then scaling it later and everything that it takes. And it turns out that women or men or whatever, the recipe is the same for everybody. It's just that the way we look at them is very different. And if I go back to, of course, the hardest question had to come from a Romanian woman in the room, Ambassador. But I think more or less, many of us, including some of the men in the room, have been hired because of a bias. Many of the men have been hired because of the bias. Many of the women have been hired because of the bias, a flipped bias. But I think you have to be very self-aware that you are there because somebody gave you a chance, either by positive discrimination or by natural discrimination. And your job is to move that wall a little bit. Ambassador, didn't we break a couple of walls? Didn't we have a wall in 1989 that a bunch of us broke? Don't we have a bunch? I am all, if it's not a revolution, let's make it an evolution, because people are so afraid of revolutionaries. Let's make it an evolution. And also this morning we talked about how women only in the last 100 years started to gain rights. no. We lost our rights in 200, in 300, in 400. We had plenty of rights until 200 BC, post-Christ. I don't know how we count in Malaysia, but after that Jesus, the Christian Jesus, this is when women started to lose rights. Before that, we had. So if you look at the history of the world, women had rights more than we didn't. But if you only look at the timeline as the last 200 years, of course we didn't. Expand the timeline to 10,000 years. Boys, you only had your freedom for 800 tiny little years. We are coming back.
So actually,
That's why I'm single, by the way, just in case anybody was wondering, because otherwise I'm gorgeous and rich.
now you know why.
Okay,
Yeah, so now you know why this is the last panel. Yeah, there are not many people left to hear this. Okay, no. So I'm watching the clock. So we promise. Yeah, we promise everyone 4:30. So I'm going to all my virtual wonderful women. All right. So I want a last round.
Sorry, can I also comment?
Sure, Ingrid, go ahead.
Can I also comment?
Go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I must say it's hard to come after that comment, but I'll try. I just want to communicate something. I don't think, like, to everybody in the room and listening, like, on this diversity aspect, I fully agree. Don't be so afraid of being a diversity candidate, because, as already said here, men have had this advantage for a long time, being selected because they're not a woman, being selected because they're a man. So this diversity aspect is not something to be too concerned about when you're being selected as one. And just to give one example, a few years ago in Norway, there was a quota put on boards of listed companies. So at least 40% had to be of one or the other gender. So at least 40% women or at least 40% men. Typically, obviously, it would be that they have to increase the number of women on boards to reach that 40% level on all boards of listed companies. And initially, when this happened, I thought it was a terrible idea. I thought it was, you had lots of women on the board who shouldn't be there and that were selected only because they were women. So I was really against this quota at the beginning. And then I saw what actually happened. And the thing that happened was that people actually had to put their back into finding good female candidates. And there were plenty of them. It's just as they were so used at picking the same male candidates that always popped up. And now they had to, spread the net a bit wider and be a bit more proactive at finding competent women. And of course they found them because they are there. They just had to put more effort into it. So in the end, I think it had a great impact, and it was much more positive than I expected it. So that's just one example I just want to put out there.
Thank you very much, Ingrid. Well said. I'm going to do this final round. Yeah, I don't see questions from the floor. Oh, yes, I have. Great.
Hi. Thank you so much for such an engagement discussion so far. I'd love to get your thoughts, especially considering that the title of this panel is Entrepreneurship. Your thoughts on women's relationship with money. Oftentimes, money is associated with power. And sometimes I feel that the conversation around women wanting money or earning more money is a taboo one. I think that if we reflect amongst ourselves in conversations with our friends, we rarely talk about money. We rarely talk about investing. We rarely talk about wanting to ask for a raise or how to ask for a raise. There's something about a woman's mindset with money. And so I would love to get your thoughts on how you think where we are in terms of just embracing it's okay to actually want money. For a long time, I think that there's a bias. There's also a cultural bias, and don't talk about money. Our place is not talk about money. But I think that until we actually embrace that it's okay to actually want money, like money, I think that that's something that we need to overcome. I'd love to get your thoughts around how you personally think about money.
Good question. Yeah, women and money. Right, and I can start here or I can start virtually. Anyone wants to jump in? Kimmy, you look like you're ready to talk about money.
I'm not like really confident to talk about money topic because to be honest, until I was 23 years old, I never have any concept about money. You know, like when I grew up, I'm like the only child in the family. And when I went abroad, like in 16 years old or something like that, and I say, okay, fine, I will be independent now. And at that time, like independency only means like, okay, I go part-time job, I work at McDonald's, picking strawberry, like basically all of the part-time job during that time when I was 16 to like 18 years old to pay for like the tuition fee and the living expenses. So like money concept for me at that time, it's very basic. Like it's about, okay, serving your basic needs or whatever. And when I work in like the technology field, it's more about like, okay, just being sustainable with your choice, like to be able to work with your passion. That's enough for me, like being independent and freedom of choice. Until like when I study about MBA. And it was like really shocking to me when I go to my MBA class. Actually at that time, also like 90% of the MBA class was male because it's an executive MBA class, and only like 10% was female. And all of them like, you know, have their own business and talk about, you know, money making and business. And I say, oh, wow, this is like the whole new world that I was not like exposed to before. Because in the culture that we grew up in like in Asia, most of the time, like our parents didn't teach girls how to like, you know, the business view. And okay, like girls, you have to like really build up your skills, make your life, you know, be financial freedom or whatever. I think that is like a big, you know, gap in the education from even like from the family education. And all of the case study, when I go back to Vietnam, I'm quite like, you know, like, okay, I look good. And then people say, oh, you look good and still you study like master, and why you have to work like 16 hours per day? Because all of my, you know, my fellows girls or whatever, like they just like marry a very rich guy. And that's the successful career for them. So we live in a very challenging, you know, social perception, and also like case studies around us. And then I told them like, okay, I want to have like much more like diversity case studies, because like it's not that I'm against like other scenarios or whatever, but basically we are so surrounded by those like common, how to say, like stereotypes in a society. Who is the role of like, you know, the main bread maker in the family? Why is it so important to have like financial freedom, even if you are the woman, or even if you have 2 kids or 3 kids in a happy marriage, but still you have to be like, you know, financial freedom, because like you never know what will happen. So I think that is very important. But I'm like, you know, still learning every day, because I think that I like the whole 20 years of education in that one. So want to learn more about like, you know, from the US and Europe, because I think that definitely it will be like a different culture.
Very good, Kavitha.
Yeah, sure, thank you. I really like that question, ma'am. Who don't like money here? Put up your hand. Oh, I haven't finished yet, ma'am. I just started with a question. I know everybody, you see, money is something, it's actually a motivating factor why we are here, what we want in our life. It is important for us to live. So no one will say, I don't want money. At the end of the day, money is everything that driving our life here. You want to live a life, you want to live a good life, a happy life, money is important. A healthy life, money is important. And if you want to have your children to live that better life, money is important. So to me, money is important. I think all of us need to attract money to have a better life. So I like your point very much. Thank you. Ma'am, over to you.
Go ahead. See, suddenly everybody
Hello?
wake
Okay.
up with a money
All
call.
right.
Yeah.
I would like to share some of my opinion after I heard about what you are talking about money and how difficult is it for women to get money from the bank or any financial institution. None of you mentioned about ROI. Return on investment is very, very important. Unless you have problem how to think about return of investment during, you have to put bad time, which is the financial, bad time, in fact, environment, financial bad time, and also during the financial good time. You have to put those two. Any bank, any financial houses, if they see your paper with good ROI, whether you are a man or woman, they will give you. Secondly, I would like also to share, when the government first started with the new NEP to help the Malays, let me tell you, I was from Treasury. I was in economic division, but they put me in contract division. When I look at them, how am I going to get money for these people? They don't have financial management, they don't have skills and so on. What I did was go to, that time was Bank Bumiputra. I spoke to the manager. There is this contract for this Bumiputra, both women as well as men. I logged in the contract that I gave to them to the bank as guarantor. From there, okay, government pays straight away to their bank account. They will divide. I said, this is for the cash flow. This is to pay whatever loan they have. This is the profit that they can take for themselves. I mean, they put in the different account. By doing that, we also are teaching them financial management, which they don't have. Slowly, I even opened an account book for them. Now, for years, I have left the government, I think 2004. And then I became technopreneur, not entrepreneur, technopreneur. I'm having my own company. I supply infrastructure for telcos, as well as optic fiber and micro optic fiber. So let me tell you, it is not difficult if you understand and you adopt and adapt in accordance with financial situation. If you understand what is the raw materials, buy forward futures, etc., and how to go about it. Now, my company will be 25 years on the 8th of August. I still survive. Okay, let me tell you, it's not easy, yes. Whether you are a woman or man, it's tough like. During the COVID pandemic, I almost cried, but God is there. Everybody needs to have water pipe, everybody needs to have their telcos, needs to have their telephone line and all the things. I still have my business running. Yeah. So you have to be very patient. You have to adopt and adapt. Yeah. That's how I did. And until today, I'm also teaching, training them. I'm with WIM as the board of trustees of WIM, teaching women for SME, as well as motivation and so on. I'm also with the Yayasan Jantung, doing what now? Preventive heart problem for the have-not. Okay, I thank you very much. Please think, you will never fail if your ROI is right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. You know, that's why I say I love the last panel. All right, I'm going to just do one round. All right, I'm going to, you need a question or you need to make a comment? Both. Come, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Just give the floor to the women. They know how to take over.
The second half of this afternoon is very interesting. I'll see a lot of, you know, I must admit, I was chewing peanuts just now because I want to keep myself awake, you know, and I'm glad. I like, Professor Doctor, you're a multitask person. Yes, I can see that. You go anywhere, you never get things fail. And I like that. And honestly, Prof, I'd like to share this from the bottom of my heart. I find that this COVID is really giving a great, I don't know, I'm talking about myself first here. Based on all the experiences that I have, I've been in the aviation. I sell the Airbus 320. It landed in Calais with no tax airport and things like that. I was learning this project for 6 months, which I was sent abroad to UK at Preston. But there is a difficulties for a woman to be in this industry. I did not make myself known. I didn't bother about all those things because I believe that we must have the law of attraction in ourselves. Because when you have that attraction, yeah, I believe that it will come naturally. It may money, it may contacts or everything. Because I'm speaking this honestly from the bottom of my heart. I don't rub shoulders, I don't butter anybody, no. And it's proven after 35 years, you know, and then you can imagine how old I am now. And I'm still working. And I love working and I love people. So during this COVID, I must tell you that I'm a coach. I'm a trained coach. I'm a trainer. And I educate and train because of my travel industry line, yeah, which I'm involved in tourism. And my background is marketing and sales. I can't stop talking. I love talking so much. And I know in the record in the school, I'm a talkative girl. But here I am. Because in sales and marketing, if you're not going to be talkative, you're not going to open your mouth, who are you going to know about you? Who are going to see who you are? But I keep very low profile for the last 30 years. I concentrated myself in my organization, which I lead last time was about 1,000 or more of women. I was a young shoot that time, you know, when I was leading this organization of this so-called Bumiputra Association of Malaysia. But after that, after 3 terms, I passed the baton to the next. And I created under the United Nations Development Program, where the International Woman Entrepreneur of Malaysia, I am now the Malaysian chapter president, and I'm the VP2 of the International Worldwide.
Congratulations.
So I have a chapter in, I'm associated chapter to India, Burma, Vietnam, and today when I see Kieu, I remember Vietnam. I have got a lot of experience. One day we must talk. But I must tell you this, I'd like to share this again. When I recruited and trained the underprivileged, because my focus now here is on underprivileged women, I want to give them the best. And most of my programs are train and place. I do not leave my students hanging after they get graduated. They have a job. And that's where we work together with the industrialists. And this program works well now in Malaysia, train and place. And this was really brought down to Malaysia from the period during the German industry in building up Mercedes-Benz and so forth. Yeah. So during this COVID, to be honest, I'm also a good cook. I love entertaining. I love to entertain. I love cooking. But this period of COVID really taught me that there is no end to it. You cannot give up. And this is where some people, when they start thinking what to do during this COVID, no. There is a lot of opportunity during this COVID. And whether you believe it or not, if you do not open your heart, do not open your mind, you don't mix around, you just shut yourself away from everything, the law of attraction will not work from you. Yeah. So believe it. Money will come naturally with all these things. Thank you very much.
Bravo. I wish we could have forever. All right, but I'm going to do a last round. Yeah. And I'm going to ask each of the ladies on this particular panel to leave one inspirational advice or word. All right, to all. I know you're waving. You want to ask a question. Time's up, is it? All right, you want something, you want to say something. Okay, you were waving so hard, I have to give it to you.
Yeah, sorry, I just feel that it was, it'd be irresponsible of me to just sit quietly at the back and not share this information. My name is Christina Fu. I'm a member of the Board of Directors of Malaysia Technology Development Corporation. And one of the things we do, of course, is to promote and encourage commercialization of technologies. And also we manage funds, including like business startup, business growth fund, halal technology fund and all. So I just want to, since the discussion was about money and creating new opportunities, scaling new heights, and I, through the years, being on the approval approvals committee, there is definitely a very, I've seen very, very few women, technopreneurs or entrepreneurs who have come in to apply for funding. And so I just want to share that there is that avenue there. And if there are any women around the room, or you know of some women who needs funding, please go and check out the Malaysia Technology Development Corporation website for funding opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Amazing contributions from the floor, and that's why I say you are an A-class audience. So to finish up with my A panel, just one line of inspiration from each of you for this amazing audience who have stayed all the way till this last part of the first day. We'll start with you, Meral. You stayed with us awake since 3:15 a.m. One line of inspiration from New York City.
Yeah, my line of inspiration wouldn't be for women entrepreneurs, but it will be mostly a call to companies and invite them to buy more from women-owned and women-led businesses.
Thank you. And then over to you, Kimmy. One line of inspiration. Can be a short line or a long line.
Yeah, so my line of inspiration is towards the women who are still you are thinking that you are struggling on this way of entrepreneurship, but I want to give them that the only thing that you need is faith in yourself, because if you don't believe or you don't trust in yourself, it's so hard out there. So I want you to have faith in yourself and faith in the best thing that would happen to on the woman in entrepreneurs.
Thank you very much. And Ingrid, we'll do all the virtual first. One line of inspiration.
Yeah. So a couple of the common questions have been around money. I work with money, so I want it to be related to that. And my line of inspiration is be courageous, take responsibility. If you have little money or a lot of money, take responsibility for it and be courageous. I see far too many women outsourcing this to the male counterparts or family members. Take responsibility for your money and be courageous.
Thank you very much. Kavitha.
Collaborate with men. That's the best thing to do. You can't work alone.
Thank you. And you, Carolina.
Loredana, I'm going to answer your question about the money. When you have very little money, nobody wants to talk about it. When you have a lot of money, everybody wants to talk about it. So make a lot of money and you'll see everybody wants to talk about it.
Thank you. Thank you, Loredana. Actually, the whole word of inspiration came from all of you. I think for many of us in this audience, we all recognize that collaboration is key, but not just with men, with big and small companies and with each other in the audience. And I love it that Christina stepped up. So this morning, a lot of you quoted lean in. I think lean in is part of the energy, but leaning in, you still have your buttock on the chair. I think it's time to step up because it takes the whole body to step up. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here for day one. And thank you to a great panel, both online and on-site. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Annie. A round of applause once again for our amazing panelists, ladies and gentlemen.